Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video, we will see how to create Linux VM with accelerated networking using Azure CLI. If you remember, we created a Windows VM, and I explained you about the accelerated networking, what are its features, and how it is useful when it comes to providing network throughput and decrease CPU throughput on VM. So today, we're going to create a Linux VM and enable the accelerated networking. So let me just quickly log on to the portal and take it from there. I'm logged on to the portal. I'm going to go to my dashboard. I will launch the Azure Cloud Shell. It will request the Cloud Shell. So if you see the supported operating systems that we can enable accelerated networking on as far as Linux is concerned, we have Ubuntu 4.14.04. RHEL, CentOS Linux, Debian, Oracle Linux 7.5, and the FreeBSD 10.4, 11.1, and 12.0. You can find more info about it on the Microsoft Azure documentation. You can use custom images as well, and your images can support accelerated networking, but you have to make sure to have the required drivers to work with Mellanox Connect X3 and Connect X4 NICs on the Azure VMs. It is preferably available in all Azure regions. And as I told you before, you can enable accelerated networking on the pre-configured VM after you stop and deallocate it. So when you, first of all, we'll create a virtual network. So this is how I created the virtual network. AZ group create. First of all, I created the resource group in the central US location. And after that, I will create the AZ network. So it would be network vnet create. AZ network vnet create. After that, I'll do the resource group. The resource group is my resource group. And after that, I will do the name, and the name would be my VNet, and the address prefix of this network is 192.168.0.0/16. And after that, I will do the subnet name. Subnet name is my subnet. Then I will add the subnet prefix. I will do 192.168.1.0/24. I hit enter. It will create a virtual network with the name myVNet. Inside the resource group, my resource group with the address space of 192.168.0.0/16 and with the subnet with name my subnet with the subnet prefix as 192.168.1.0/24. I clear my screen. I will create a network security group, and the command line to do would be AZ network NSG create. I will place that in my resource group, which is my resource group, and I will name it my network security group. Here it is. Let's see how it goes. Okay. So now the network security group contains several default rules, one of which disables all inbound access from the internet. We'll have to open a port to allow SSH to the virtual machine. So I will do AZ network NSG rule create. I will again do it in resource group, which is my resource group, and the NSG name that I created was my network security group. My network security group, and the name of the rule that I am doing is allow the SSH through internet. So you can give it any name. I'm just making it what came to my mind, and the action would be to allow the inbound connection, and the protocol would be TCP. And after that, the direction of the rule is inbound, and the priority. So if you have created a rule earlier, you would understand that these are all the parameters that are required to create the inbound rule. So I am creating the source address prefix is internet, and the source port range would be all, and the destination address prefix is also all, and your destination port range is 22. All right. Okay. I'm sorry I missed the two dashes. That is why it does not accepted the allow SSH. So I'll add one of these and I'll hit enter. Hopefully it should work. It's running. It is creating a rule on the NSG that we created in one of the previous steps. Perfect. Now I will create a network interface with accelerated networking. AZ network public IP create. Name would be my public IP. And the resource group is same as my resource group. Perfect. Now we have created a network interface with AZ network NIC create. Now we'll create the accelerated networking enabled network interface. We'll use AZ network NIC create command, which is again in the resource group, my resource group, and the name would be my NIC like we did earlier, and the VNet name would be my VNet, subnet would be my subnet, accelerated networking I set to true, my public IP address is my public IP that I created in the previous step, my network security group is my network security group, the name. My public IP address. Okay, I placed two dashes. We'll do it like this. So in the next step, I will create a VM and will attach the NIC. Let it run. It is created. Let me create the VM. I'm going to use AZ VM create. I will place that in my resource group. All right, and the name would be my VM. And next is image. I'm going to use Ubuntu LTS. Size, I'm going to select standard underscore DS4v2. And I'm going to select admin username. I'm going to give my name. And I ask this to generate SSH keys. Next is my NIC. It will take some time to deploy this VM. In this folder to allow the SSH access to the VM. When specifying an existing NIC, do not specify accelerated networking. Ignore accelerated networking now. So this is changing as of now while the machine is being deployed. So I'll pause and come back. All right, the VM is deployed successfully. So you see that I have the public IP, private IP, the status VM is running. Everything looks good for now. How do we confirm that the accelerated networking is enabled? So let's do this. SSH Ashish, my username at, I'm going to enter the public IP of this VM 52.173.200.83. Type in yes. I am logged on to this VM now. So if I do u name minus r, so this is perfectly fine. This is the version that I am using for the Ubuntu. So this is 5.3.0.134. That is nice. So I'm going to use the LSPCI. So it will list all the controller. I have host bridge, I have ISA bridge, I have EDA, a bridge for the Intel Corporation. I have the VGA and the Melanix technologies. So this Ethernet controller, Melanix technologies family connect, this one, the last one, it made sure that the VM that I have configured, it has accelerated networking turned on because I enabled the accelerated networking on the NIC before I created this VM, and I associated the NIC with this VM when I created this VM. So that is how you do it. So now if you want to check the activity on the virtual the environment on the virtual machine, You can also type in ETH Ethernet tool S dash SE on the Ethernet card, that is 0, and then you can pipe that into the grep command, which would do vf underscore, and you see the packets being traffic being onto this network card. And you can, as I told you, you can enable individual accelerated networking on the NIC when you stop and deallocate the VM. So if I want to turn off the accelerated networking on this VM, what I would do, so if you go to this VM here, this is my VM, this is the Linux virtual machine, Linux Ubuntu here, right? So if I go to networking, if I go to the NIC of this VM, if I go to the properties, you see the accelerated networking is turned off. So now if I want to turn it off, I would first of all deallocate this VM. So I would clear this. I would come out of this VM and I will turn this VM off. So I will do AZ VM deallocate. So it's in the resource group as my resource group, and the name of the VM is my VM, right? So it will stop and deallocate this VM. This command is still running. It will take some time. All right, so if you would go back to your VM now, go to the overview section, you see that the VM is stopped and it's giving you an option to start. And now if I want, I can turn the uh, accelerated networking feature off. So I would do AZ network NIC update for the name my NIC, right, which is the name of my NIC, and it's under resource group, my resource group, accelerated networking to false, and I click on it and it will update the settings and will turn off the accelerated networking for that NIC which is associated to my Linux virtual machine. And then I can start the VM again, and now if you would go to the networking option, click on my NIC, the name, you go to the properties, accelerated is turned off, and then you can go to the VM, you can start the VM from the portal or from the Cloud Shell. So this is how you enable the accelerated networking on a Linux VM. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any doubts, please mention them in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day.